Hello, I'm starting a new reading vlog where I'm going to be reading some of Booktuber's favourite books from 2024. Now, I have a bit of a plan for this, so when everybody's favourites of last year's videos came out, I started keeping a notes page. And I noticed kind of like three main themes come out of those. One was books that loads of people or multiple people recommended. One was books that I already have on my TBR that I'm interested in reading, that I feel are now endorsed by somebody else saying that they really enjoyed them. And the third category was stuff that was new to me but still sounded really brilliant. So my plan is to read one of each of those three in this vlog. Now I don't know, I can't decide. I'm kind of spoiled for choice what all of those three will be, but I know exactly where I'm going to be starting. And that is a book that was recommended by not just one, not just two, not just three, but so many people. It would be easier for me to tell you who didn't have it on their favourite books of last year list. And that's not to say that the people who didn't have it on their list didn't enjoy it, because literally every single person I've heard talk about this book who's read it has loved it and has no criticism. Can you guess which book it is? Am I literally the last person on the internet to read this? Quite possibly. So I'm not a huge fan of reading really hyped books. It really gives me the ick. It puts me off. It sets expectations where I don't want them to be at the start of a book. But there's just no denying, literally nobody has said a single bad word about this book, and it is so highly praised. I would be bonkers not to read it, right? So obviously the book is James by Perceval Everett. Now, if you haven't heard of this book, have you been living under a rock? It's a retelling of Huckleberry Finn from the perspective of Jim or James. And like I say, nobody has had a single bad word to say about it, so it's about time I got on board the James train and gave it a read. Now, I'm introducing this vlog and telling you that I'm starting this book today because I am going to Germany for a quick 24 hours to watch my sister get married. Whole other story, I'll tell you about that later. So I have a really long drive ahead of me. James has come up on my, what's the app called? BorrowBox. So I have a limited amount of time to listen to it. I'm listening to the audio. So the stars have aligned. The book has come up on BorrowBox. I have a really long journey to go on. I'm driving to Gatwick Airport shortly. I'll be leaving very soon, and yeah, so it's a perfect time to start the vlog. So I have to say, I am both nervous and excited to start this book. I'm really nervous that I might be the only person in the world that doesn't like it. What if that happens? Don't hate me. There's a lot of pressure, right, to read books that have a lot of hype, but I also feel somewhat reassured that so many people that I really respect have really loved it, so I have to cling on to that. I'll tell you how I get on and show you a little bit of my travels, and then we'll pick what books we read next when it's time to choose something else. See you soon. I have arrived ridiculously early because I'm British and that's what we do. We arrive at airports way too early. So I'm just sitting waiting for my brother to get here because we're on the same flight, which is jolly nice. So the reason that I'm going on a very whistle-stop tour to Germany is because my sister is getting married this year. Wedding, church wedding and reception and stuff in November in the UK. But she lives in Germany with her German husband, and they have to have a kind of like legal ceremony in Germany as well. And that's what's happening tomorrow. Okay, I stopped filming because a family came and sat next to me and were talking, and I thought the audio might have picked that up, and it would have been distracting. But then it was high drama because they were fiddling around with their luggage, not my words, but the lady from check-in who came around to tell them off, because apparently they were halfway through check-in before wandering off to mess around with their bags. And so she told them off and told them to come back to check-in, and then on their way back they tried to like decant stuff into other bags and then abandon their suitcase, an empty suitcase, so they didn't have to pay for it. But we all know that we don't leave luggage unattended in an airport, so they got really told off for that. And that was the end of the drama. So where were we? Sister getting married in November in the UK with church and reception and all the trappings, but her and her partner live in Germany, and he is German, so they have to have a German wedding legally, and that's what we're going for tomorrow. So it's a much smaller affair, it's only close family. Yeah, we're just flying in today. I'm going to be flying back tomorrow night. Yeah, so it's going to be lovely, but a very whistle-stop tour. Very tiring, I would imagine. I listened to a good chunk of James on the way here, which I'm happy to say I'm really, really enjoying. It's just incredible. Like, literally, I thought to myself by the end of the first chapter, I really had a good sense of James, the character of James, like really instantaneously, and I can't tell you what it is that Perceval Everett does to achieve that. I will think on that more. But yeah, really, really clear, distinct character voice, which is really, really enjoyable. He's doing really interesting things with language, which I'll talk more on when I'm not feeling quite so self-conscious filming myself at the airport, I think. So my brother is on his way. I've got about 20 minutes before he arrives, we can check in, and then we shall mosey on through security. So wish us luck for that. I just want to share with you, this is all I have. That's all I have with me. I only have one backpack. This is unheard of, but I'm being a total cheapskate because the date was booked at reasonably short notice coming up to the Easter holidays, and so yeah, to spend the least amount of flights, I avoided paying for baggage, as did my friends who came and joined me earlier, it would seem. But I'm travelling uncharacteristically light. I've done it, unless I've forgotten something very important. Oh well, time will tell. We made it. I am in my hotel room drinking wine out of a mug, and yeah, we had a decent journey. I regret not choosing my seat on the way out. Sitting in the middle seat is just the worst, isn't it? Because especially if you're sat next to strangers, because we all booked our tickets separately, you don't have an automatic armrest right in the middle. You have to rely on the other person either side of you not using their armrest, which neither of the people did, so I sort of sat really awkwardly on the plane. Anyway, enough of that, and I have wine. I'm in a nice hotel room and we have arrived. So I reckon by my estimations I am about halfway through James, so I've made really good innings and have really enjoyed it so far. The thing that I've been most interested in is this aspect where, so that if you've been living under a rock, as like with me, if you've been under my rock and haven't read this book yet, James is a slave and he sort of teaches his family and the other slaves around him to speak in a way in which is palatable to the white folks around them. So essentially teaches them how to dumb down their intelligence, their agency, the way that they speak, basically. It's a really, really interesting interrogation of the use of language. And yeah, it just really struck me that Perceval Everett wrote another book called Erasure, which I haven't read, but I have watched the film American Fiction on which it's based. And that does a similar sort of interrogation around language. So that's about like a modern day author, a black author who is writing books and he's not getting much success, and then he gets really frustrated because he sees other black authors gaining success by writing books that are sort of stereotypically kind of gangland black stories in a certain type of vernacular that isn't actually their own. They just use that in a way to kind of sell their books. So he sort of out of frustration and sort of as a joke does his own version of this under a pen name, and it's a huge success. And that's the premise of American fiction. I just think that's so interesting that Perceval Everett has managed to take something really quite niche and interrogate it under different lenses and in different ways, using different stories, like really, really different stories. And both, all right, I haven't read Erasure, but certainly if the film American Fiction is anything to go by, really both were really, really successfully achieved. Yeah, I think that's really, really fascinating. So that's where I am. The characters are so vivid. Huck is a fantastic character. Jim or James is a fantastic character. And they, I think I said earlier, their narrative voices are so like bell clear. You know exactly who they are. And I can't tell you what it is like that Percival Everett is doing to achieve that, but it is. So all in all, a success so far. Everybody was right. I was wrong. Well, I wasn't wrong. I didn't think I wasn't going to like it, but I was wrong not to have picked it up so far. So tomorrow is going to be the not wedding, or the wedding, pre-wedding, wedding number 1. I'm unlikely to film much of that. I might show you a little clip of me in the morning, but it's a family thing, so I don't plan to film that. And then my brother and I will be hot-tailing it back to the airport to head home, and I'll be driving back very late from Gatwick to home tomorrow night, and hopefully I'll certainly get most of James finished by then, if not all of it. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm confident that it will help keep me awake. That's it. That's all I have to say. I will see you tomorrow. Damn, it's hot. It's like a summer's day here. Just waiting for my brother to pick us up from the hotel, and then we're off for our wedding. Hello, I am back from Germany. I got home very, very, very late last night. Our flight was delayed, and so that had a bit of a knock-on effect. I had to drop my brother a bit further into London because there were no taxis at Gatwick. And then, yeah, there were tons of road closures because we're doing lots of roadworks around London. So all that is to say that I got back at 3:30 this morning. I am not somebody who does well with a lack of sleep, so I'm feeling pretty ropey today. But we had a beautiful day, first and foremost. It was a really, really, really lovely day, and I'm so glad that I went, even just for a whistle stop, 24 hours in Germany. So yeah, it was super lovely. And also it gave me the opportunity to finish James by Percival Everett. And I really enjoyed it. It was such a great book to listen to whilst travelling. I listened to the first half on my way to Gatwick Airport driving. I listened to a couple of chapters as we were sort of buzzing about. And then I listened to the rest of it on the way home. I finished it on my way home last night from Gatwick. So, yeah, after my initial kind of reaction, just really loving it, really enjoying it, I think it was a really super adventure story all on its own. But it said and did an awful lot more than that, which I really appreciated. It didn't kind of elevate in my enjoyment any further than like the first few chapters, so I did really like it from the off, like straight off. That didn't change. Excuse me, that's Sam just having a cough. That didn't change, but it didn't. What I'm saying is, I think I have landed on a 4.25. It didn't quite reach 5-star for me. Part of that might be because I was slightly delirious listening to the end of it, driving at 2-3 o'clock in the morning down the motorway. There's a good chance that has impacted on my enjoyment of the end of it. But yes, I did. I thought it was wonderful, and everybody's recommendations were right. But it's not one that I like wholeheartedly loved. That might be like influence of the hype and the expectations around it. It might be the circumstances. It might just be that, you know, it wasn't a book that I super loved. For books to hit a 5-star for me, they have to be really emotionally impactful. That wasn't what I don't feel what Perceval Everett was setting out to do. Yeah, so I'm glad to have read it and listened to it. I don't know what I'm going to reach for next. My brain is a bit scrambled. I'm very tired, and I'm driving again tomorrow because we are taking Brennan back to the vets for his review. So I am up very early, driving up to Solihull to take him back to the fancy vets for x-rays and things. So I will take you with me to Solihull at least for that. But I don't know what I'm going to pick up next. At the moment, I plan to sit on the sofa for a little while and catch up with Married at First Sight. Don't judge me, or do. I'm okay with that. Ben's all dropped off at the vets. They're really happy with how it looks so far, but he's going to have x-rays. So I have popped into Solihull and I will be picking up a new phone battery, and I'm going to pop into Waterstones. From the vets to say Brennan is okay. He's had his x-rays, everything's looking really good, so all super news, and I can go and get him in half an hour. He's a bit groggy from some sedation, so that's good. And then I'll meet with the vets and find out what we need to do next. Probably lots of really expensive physio and rehab. No, but it's super news. But just as well the vets have called because I think I'm nervous shopping. I've spent a phenomenal amount of money. And obviously books were bought. So I found Fanny by Rebecca F. John in Oxfam Books. This is a wee retelling of the Fantine from Les Miserables story, which I've had my eye on my wish list for a little while, so I was delighted to find that. You'll see in the video clips there were some really great books in that Oxfam bookshop. They had James by Perceval Everett. They had My Friends by Hisham Attar. I have a copy of that already. Bought from that bookshop actually the last time I was here in hard copy. Yeah, there was loads of really good stuff in there, stuff that I'd already read. And then in Waterstones I picked up The Shadow of the Wind. This is one of my friend's favourite books, which I haven't read, so I think it sounds delightful. It sounds like a book lover's dream. More than 20 million readers have opened a heavy wooden door, stepped into the haunting world of the cemetery of forgotten books and fallen in love. A book lover's book and a tale of obsession. The Shadow of the Wind brings alive the magic and mystery of Barcelona, its gothic streets and hidden corners, a world that has lost none of its power to entrance and bewitch. It's a chunky one, but I'm looking forward to reading that. And then the other book that I picked up is No Longer Human by Osamu Danzai. This is about somebody who no longer feels like connected to humanity and society. portraying him, so it's semi-autobiographical, portraying himself as a failure. The protagonist no longer human, narrates a seemingly normal life even while he feels himself incapable of understanding human beings. I thought it sounded lovely. I have this author's, another book of theirs on my wish list. It's got a funny title. They've both got really fun covers. Anyway, I thought this sounded great. So I've bought 3 books. I've bought birthday presents for my mum and my mother-in-law, and maybe some other bits for me. That's okay, right? Yeah, so I'm killing time now. I'll read another chapter of what I've got on the go at the moment and then go and pick up my boy and get home. It has been quite some time. I have taken a hiatus from this vlog because I decided to do Misery May and decided to vlog that. So there has been quite a gap since I finished James and now. But I am back to pick up my next read for reading Booktuber's 2024 Faves. And the book that I have chosen is heavy. Your Wish is My Command by Deena Mohamed. It's also called Schubeck Lubeck. I'm probably butchering that. Schubeck Lubeck. So this is a book that was already on my radar. I heard about it first from Sant Read some time ago and put it on my wish list, and there it sat until watching all the lovely 2024 favourite videos at Christmas and Musa at Books Are My Social Life, Reading Is My Social Life, included it in their favourites of last year. And even since then, Kat has done a reading vlog where she read this and really loved it. So it's a triple threat. It's been recommended at least 3 times, and I've been waiting for the perfect weekend to pick it up because it's a graphic novel and it's huge. So I needed a weekend where I wasn't doing anything, where I could just sit and absorb it, where I had no other plans going on, and that is this weekend. So yes, I'm very excited to read it. It's about, it's set in a kind of like, it's magical realism, and it's set in a world where wishes exist, like wishes that pop out of bottles. But there is a system by which this happens. So there are 3 different classifications of wish. There is a first, second and third class wishes. And your third class wishes, which are the cheapest and easiest to get hold of, they come in aluminium cans as opposed to glass bottles. They can be pretty tricksy. So whilst they're a bit cheaper and a bit easier to get hold of, you have to be really careful making a third class wish because they tend to kind of like be a bit indirect about what they give you. So for example, if you wished for money to grow on your tree, it'll give you Monopoly money, or if you wish you could lift heavier weights, it'll just give you extra arms instead of extra strength. There's some really funny examples of how these third class wishes have gone wrong. And so the setup is that we've got a kind of kiosk vendor who happens to have 3 vintage first class wishes that he's trying to sell. But you wouldn't typically get a first class wish from a street vendor. And so people are a bit suspicious about it. And so the people that are curious and tend to pick them up, or the 2 characters that have picked them up so far, have been pretty desperate. So we've followed the story of one person who has picked up their wish so far, and it's just even collecting the wish has been really problematic for them. So there's this whole setup. The world building in this is fantastic. There's this whole setup whereby there's like international law about wishes, because there was a period of time where lots of people were wishing loved ones who died back to life, and it created this like mini zombie apocalypse. So that was banned, and there's all sorts of other things that are kind of like ethically banned under wishes. So they're regulated and you have to have a license for them. There's a really clever bit in here that's kind of like telling you wish trivia, and one of the facts was lots of people after World War II were wishing for world peace, and that created a bit of a problem because it meant that those who were disadvantaged, it kind of like maintained a hierarchy, because those who were disadvantaged weren't able to kind of like challenge authority or injustices because there was so much peace being wished for. I think it's really, really, really clever, and you get it. You get the premise from like page number 1. It's super fantastic. The artwork's really fun. I'll show you some clips of that in a minute. But yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan for this weekend. I am just going to absorb this lovely book, and have a really jolly time reading it. I'm a little more than halfway through. One of the characters in here who buys one of the wishes is a young person who's at university and feeling really lost and feeling like they're losing themselves and has depression. And between the artwork and the prose in here is the most fantastically accurate depiction of depression in the most kind and compassionate way I think I've ever read about. It's really, really, really well done. I don't have much of another update other than I'm still really loving this. This is the perfect book to pick up on a grey, miserable day with not a lot to do other than slob about and just immerse myself in this really, really delightful story. I'm so glad that I am reading it, and I'm so glad I'm reading it today. It's absolutely spot on, exactly what I needed. Finished Your Wish Is My Command, or Shubek Lubek by Deena, Mohamed. I've had a lovely time reading this, isn't it? There's something really special about sitting down of a rainy day and reading a book cover to cover. Yeah, it's just a nice feeling. I'm going to rest this on my shoulder because it's too heavy. I thought this was marvellous. It was just wonderful. It's a really great example of good speculative fiction or magical realism done really, really well, because it gets you to think about something from a different angle and ask yourself some difficult questions, whilst having a really good time. This was just a lot of fun. It was a really, great story, well told, but it did all of that other stuff too. And, you know, really inconspicuously touched on lots of different themes, from like religion and family values and loyalties and colonialism and class, mental health, you know, all of that stuff is in here, but really intricately woven into a really great story, well told. So I had a lovely time with this, and I'm very, very, very happy to have read it. And you will next see me when I have decided what I plan to pick up next. Hello, my gin and tonic and I are coming at you on a sunny Sunday afternoon to give a brief update to say I've picked up my next book for this vlog, and that is Ti Amo by Hanne Orstavik. I should say it's translated by Martin Aitkin. This was in Gem of Books, Best Books of 2024. I remember her video about this, but I don't remember what it was about, and I kind of want to go into it not remembering. It's very short, so I don't want to spoil myself, so I'm happy to go in blind, and I'm really looking forward to what I suspect is going to be a slightly miserable emotional book, if I know Gem's reading tastes, as I think I do. So that's Ti Amo by Hanne Orstavik, translated by Martin Aitkin. We're out on a lunchtime walk on a very hot day, so we are sticking to the shade, and I wanted to let you know I'm about halfway through Ti Amo, so I thought I'd better give you an update because it's only a wee book, and I'm likely to finish it very quickly. So it's about a couple, and the husband is diagnosed with cancer and becomes quite ill quite quickly. I think it's everything that I hoped. What is it? The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion would be. They're different books because that was written from a after death perspective, and that was much more focused on grief. This is on the sort of lead up to her husband dying. It's written, the writing style is interesting because it's written in the first person. So the I from the narrative voice is her, the wife, and the you that she's writing to or addressing is her husband. I want to describe it as like raw and unflinching, but I think those words are often really overused when describing books. But it is that. It's also very direct in terms of capturing her thoughts, and I think that's partially because of her approach to capturing what's going on. It's very matter of fact, but also that first person narrative makes it feel very direct. What else did I want to say about it? So I flicked over the book and had a little look at the back page, and it's not blurbs, it's blurbs as in blurbs by other authors commenting on the book. And there was something there that made me think that it might be autobiographical or autofiction, which I hadn't appreciated. I thought it was a straight up novel, but I need to go away and do a bit of research because that changes my perspective a bit, and probably I shouldn't have led with that kind of like comparison to My Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, because I wasn't thinking that when I first started reading it, because I thought it was a novel. But yeah, now I'm thinking that it might be at least based on real events. I feel a bit differently about it, hence that comparison. It's kind of what I'd hoped that Joan Didion's book would be. Yes, so It's an interesting one. I'm not feeling like really emotional about it, although what she's writing about is deeply moving. It's kind of like more of a gut punch than a kind of make you cry. And I think because to a degree she's writing in quite that matter-of-fact, sort of almost detached way, but in a way that you still feel very connected to her and her experiences. I'm not doing a very good job of summing this up. The other thing that's interesting that I have reflected on is that really, because it's written from this eye perspective and it's her reflections on what's going on, you're sort of like in her inner monologue. And when that occurred to me, I was like, oh wait, I don't like that. I don't like stream of consciousness writing. But it's not stream of consciousness, I think, and I'm happy to be corrected, I'd love to know what you think. I think that stream of consciousness is a bit more kind of like if you were to be given a pen and just told to kind of like write without much thought, whereas the inner monologue is much more purposeful. It feels more structured anyway. So I think there's a difference between inner monologue and stream of consciousness. Happy to be corrected. What do you think? Yeah, so that's where we're at with Ti Amo at the moment. I'm going through some real prickly bits now, and I'm in a dress because it's summer. So I'm going to stop talking to you and concentrate on what I'm doing. Update sort of to kind of explain why I'm here. I'm trying out a new commute and it's brought me via this lovely spot overlooking the River Severn and the estuary and the Severn Bridge, which is very nice at this time of year on this very, very sunny day. So I'm going to be getting the train from here shortly, and I think I will probably finish Ti Amo today, so hopefully next time you see me I'll be letting you know what I thought. It is the end of a very hot, sweaty day, and I am a hot, sweaty mess, but I have finished Ti Amo. Where I last left you, shortly afterwards, a sort of new angle, kind of storyline thread was introduced, and the book got into a bit of more of a rhythm of kind of like going back and forth from that situation to her husband's illness, and that kind of slowed things down and also kind of left you wondering like what's going to happen on all angles. It created quite a bit of tension, and as I say, slowed the pace down of what's happening with her husband, and so you really lingered in what she's feeling and thinking. The ending wasn't quite what I was expecting, and I think selfishly I was expecting that kind of really cathartic sob your heart out moment, but it didn't go there. It's left me, instead of having that kind of like that build up to something very sad and then like the sad thing, it's left me kind of with a lump in my throat, which I think is actually quite clever because that lingering feeling of like just that kind of like lingering feeling of sadness without the catharsis of like a really good cry is a lot like grief, you know, and how that sits with you, which is what this book is about. Yeah, so I think that was quite clever. There is the most beautiful paragraph, which I've taken a picture of in here, where she's describing meeting her husband and it feeling like something like meeting you was like looking out over the Welsh hills or something like that. She's a Norwegian author writing about a couple living in Milan. So I mean, you know, I love the Welsh reference, but also that whole paragraph was just beautiful. I read it like 3 or 4 times. And yeah, I'll find a way to kind of like keep that. Yeah, so I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, I think it was very good, but I feel kind of weird. But also, like, if it had gone there and done this big kind of like crescendo ending, it would cheapen it. You know, I know that. But I don't like how I'm feeling. Gonna have to go and watch something very sad to kind of get it out of my system. Yeah, so that was Ti Amo. Oh, and also I've done a bit of looking up. I'm pretty sure that this is autofiction or autobiographical. The main character is an author, a Norwegian author living in Milan with an Italian husband, and Hanne Orstavik's husband that lived with her husband in Italy, and he died of cancer a couple of years ago. So it is autofiction. Really, such a wanky thing to say, but really brave autofiction. And I looked up and I didn't write it down, or it's not in my head to remember it now. I'll mention it in some writing here. But it looks like there's a sequel or a follow-up to it. So that's interesting. I would definitely be interested in reading more from her. Oh yeah, that's another reason why it is fairly clear that it's autofiction, because it references this main character having written books, and she names the titles, and Hanne Orstavik has written those books. Love, Amour, and something else. I forget. Anyway, I'd love to read much more from her. I thought this was challenging, emotionally challenging, but very good. I can't string a sensible sentence together because I'm too hot, but did want to capture my initial kind of thoughts having finished that just recently today. So I will wrap up this video another way, another time, maybe tomorrow. So I shall leave you there. Once again, you find me a hot, sweaty mess, but it is a different day and I really need to wrap this vlog up. I just wanted to finish by going through some of the other favourites that I had on my notes page, because some of them I've also read and some of them I haven't yet. So the ones that I have read already, so James I read for this vlog. Glorious Exploits I've read this month for a book club. Absolutely amazing, bloody loved it. It was one of those books where I got to the end and thought I could turn back to the first page. What else have I read? There Are Rivers in the Sky, recommended by Elif Shafak. I read that earlier this year. That was lovely, love Elif Shafak. I have also read Shark Heart. That was another one that we read for a book club this month. My 2 book clubs picked books that I'd chosen this month. It's been a happy month for me. Loved that, thought that was fantastic. The Safekeep, that was fantastic, really loved The Safekeep. That won the Women's Prize recently. I've also read Remember Remember by Elle McRae. That was okay. That was a solid historical fiction. I think that's it. I think that's all the ones I've read. So still on my list as potential books to read for another Booktubers Favourites vlog, if we're going to do this again, are Black Sheep and So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison, Stoner by John Williams, The Coast Road, and The Offing, don't remember who they're by, Night Alphabet. My Friends by Hisham Attar. Our Evenings, can't remember the author for that. Shy Creatures, Earth by Deborah Tompkins. My Good Bright Wolf, The Lasting Harm. Praiseworthy, One Last Song by Nathan Evans. Ghost Mountain, This House by Sean Northey, Welsh author. Offshore, I've got that in mind to read for a different reading vlog. Pachinko. Pursuit of Love by Nancy Mitford. Briefly a Delicious Life, I have that. The Impusium, Fall on Your Knees, that was a recommendation by Jess at Stalking Kafka. Disorientation, which I'm going to read for another vlog. Fade Into You, The Water Cure, The Husbands, I have that. The Rachel Incident, Sula, I have that. Foster Dad Explores the Cosmos. Wedding People, Pet, If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English, Mr. Loverman, Loyalties, Winter in Sokcho, The Most, I'm really keen to read that. Bodies of Light, which I'm going to read for another vlog, I have that. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, so many people put that on their best books of 2024, and there's a statue of her where I work. Minor Detail, Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. So there's a whole list of stuff that I haven't read yet that would like to, that are still potentials for another one of these Reading Booktuber favourites vlogs. So if there's any of those books that you would like to see me read, or books that you've read and you think yes you definitely should read those, pop them in the comments. That would be really great. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are looking after yourself, and I will see you again in the next video.